Welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today we have Ben Munoz, founder of Ben's Friends and Nadine West. And today we're going to be talking all about his business journey to business ownership, challenges, best practices, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business. So, if this is your first time to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe to get notifications when a new show drops, just like this one. I'm already thinking shop. Anyway, Ben, we're so glad you're here. Welcome to the show. I cannot wait to hear more about your business. So, if you could just dive in a little bit and just share a little bit about your background and your business.
Sure. So my background, I am a software engineer by training and by profession. Um, I was a software engineer for 6 years, and then I went to business school. And then the business school had a few incidents, which kind of led me down a little bit of a different path, which got me into patient advocacy. And then I stumbled onto women's fashion e-commerce. Yeah, so that's in a nutshell, but there's a lot more to that.
Well, tell us. Let's dive in. I know you have a fascinating story about why you became an advocate for patients. So let's start there. Just share about your journey.
Yeah. Okay. So patient advocacy. I became a patient advocacy because during business school, I was a regular business school student, kind of thinking about what my career was going to be. I knew I had a passion for entrepreneurship, but during business school, there's these career paths that are very prominent. And so there were consulting or investment banking, and I wasn't sure. So I was kind of like trying to find my way. And then during the summer between my first and second years of business school, I was out with a friend and we were having dinner, and I started to feel nausea and a headache. And so I felt initially I thought it was food poisoning. And so, um, but it felt way different than food poisoning. And for whatever reason, my gut told me to go to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room and I called a friend of mine who's a doctor, and I said, hey Kevin, I've got this nausea and I've got a headache and I can't turn my head left or right. And this line is long at the ER. What do I do? And he goes, whatever you do, do not wait in that line. If you wait in that line, you're probably going to die. So give the phone to the nurse and I'll talk to her. So he explained to the nurse that I was having some sort of a brain hemorrhage. And the nurse grabbed me, took me to an observation room, not to the ER, not to the operating room. And in that in the observation room, they inserted a shunt, which is basically they drilled a hole into my head and to release the pressure. And so that saved my life. And I had a few weeks of recovery. I was in the ICU. I had to recover, and that changed my life. And so that led me to reflect on what I was doing with my life and what the second chance of a life the second
Mm,
chapter of my life is going to be. And so I left behind any kind of like thoughts of having, I know, just a career, like a traditional professional career. I said, no, I want to do something that impactful. And I
mm,
understood that now life is short, and that if you want to do something, that you go for it because you don't know if you're going to get a second chance. So that led me to entrepreneurship, initially with social entrepreneurship. So a year after I had recovered, I was trying to find a support group online for my brain hemorrhage, which was caused by a rare form of a brain hemorrhage called an AVM, and I couldn't find a support group. So I had a background in software engineering, and a friend of mine from business school, Scott, said, "Hey, why don't you maybe start your own?" So I started my own online support group, and that became avmsurvivors.org. And so on that group, I met with initially just a few, and then dozens, and then hundreds, and then thousands of people with the same exact rare disease. And Scott said, "Oh, wow, that is amazing. You're like bringing all these people together. Why don't you do this for more rare diseases? Because I don't
mm.
see these support groups out there." So I did it. And then that became bensfriends.org, which was my first venture, I guess you would call it, even though it's a 501(c)(3) nonprofit. And that was in 2000 and late 2007. Yeah, so 17 years. And We've been just operating these online patient support communities and trying to make a difference in the lives of patients.
Wow. That's an amazing story. And your friend Kevin, I mean, talk about the importance of having community around you and knowing people. I mean, we have to ask, where's Kevin today? And
Oh
how,
yeah, Kevin is an executive, doctor executive, physician executive, Kaiser Permanente, and he's
wow,
changing lives over at Kaiser in
I love
California.
that. What an awesome story. Not awesome experience for sure, but what a way to take life circumstances and to make something so impactful. So Ben's Friends is for a community online for rare disease patients, ranging, I'm assuming, all kinds of disease, if you will. Tell us about the organization itself and what does the community look like?
Yeah, so it's largely volunteer operated. We've got dozens of moderators. So the volunteer moderators
Mm,
have the disease, and they started off as members seeking support for themselves, and then eventually became very involved, and then become volunteer moderators. Really make sure that the communities are warm and friendly and helpful. There are making sure that the spammers get kicked out quickly, that people don't get stuck, and occasionally you do get like you know, some discussion about maybe especially political discussion like this past election. So we don't want any of that. It's all about
mm,
patient welfare and patient well-being, and the moderators ensure that. So that's what keeps us like I think like the warmest and friendliest place for rare disease patients on the internet.
mhm. And you said it was a
Yeah.
501(c)(3), so there is a component of giving here. How does that look for your nonprofit?
Yeah, we run very lean. We've been featured in TechCrunch and in Harvard Business Review for specifically our ability to make a big impact on a small budget.
Mhm,
So we're not wasteful. We don't, and we like being small and lean. So that means
mhm,
that we're not reliant on large, corporate partners that are not aligned with our values. We do have corporate partners, but they're very aligned with our values. And so that gives us the independence that we like so that we can focus on our patients. So we're very lean. We rely mostly on individual donations with some corporate partnerships. And
mhm,
um, yeah, and we like that. We like how we can operate aligned with our values and integrity.
mhm. And nonprofits run on boards. Is that just kind of getting into the structure of things for our listeners? When you run a nonprofit and you start one up, what does that look like even after 17 years?
Yeah, I mean, the logistics are kind of initially basically like running business. You file
Mm,
paperwork, you get a 501(c)(3, you get a tax form exemption, and then you can qualify to take in donations. And from then on, it's at least in our uh, iteration or implementation of it, it's kind of like running a business. You know, I
mhm,
think I think nonprofits sometimes get a little bit of a I don't know, they can sometimes get a little bit of reputation at being like slightly wasteful and slow, but they don't have to be. You can operate it like an enterprise. And so we've got our customers. Who are the customers? The customers are the patients. If you don't offer them services, they're not going to come and visit your
mm,
website. If if you don't go above and beyond, they're not going to volunteer for you. They're not going to raise
mhm,
money on your behalf. So you have to stay focused on being customer centric, which is
mhm,
in this situation the patient, and they don't pay you. Our services are free, so they don't pay you with dollars, but they pay you with their time
right.
and their energy.
Yeah. What has been some of the obstacles that you have found that you've had to overcome? And whether it's running a business like you do for Nadine West, which I can't wait to get to that too, or a nonprofit that in itself, like you said, is an enterprise. And as you look back over the years, what has been because you're combining your passion that is huge with having to marry that with running it like a business. So what are some of those obstacles?
Yeah, I think if we talk about common obstacles, I think one common obstacle is just getting started. Like
Mm,
that's the biggest thing, is just getting started. When we started Ben's Friends, I was started it to solve a problem that I had, and I didn't have a PowerPoint deck, or I didn't have, you know, funding from some government grant or some large foundation or everything. I just started with a $10 GoDaddy domain name
Mhm.
and a little WordPress site. And I think at the time I used social networking platform that was very inexpensive. We just got started and we go and we went and then that's it. And then Nadine West, same thing. I didn't have a background in apparel. I didn't have a background in e-commerce, and I was at the time I was a broke medical student, and um, yeah, and so like, okay, there's no fundraising, there's no pitch deck. We just jumped in and put it
Yeah.
up and went, yeah.
Yeah. What's one of the stories that has come out of Ben's friends that you can share?
Oh my God, so many. Yeah, so many so the one that I'm most involved with because it's my rare disease is the AVM. So I remember
Hmm.
Lisan. Lisan was a patient who was in Arizona, and I remember her sharing with us in a video about how she had this diagnosis and she was scared. And doctors at the time told her that local doctors told her at the time that she should maybe get her affairs in order because
Mm.
it's incurable. It's just inoperable. I would just say
Oh,
inoperable what she had. And so, of course, she was distraught and despondent. And what do you do when you get that information? So anyway, she
yeah.
went online. She found a community. She shared her story with the community, and members offered not advice, but they offered doctor recommendations. And
Mm.
so it turns out that there is a difference between surgeons and different experience. And so her surgeon told her that was inoperable, but she found an expert in AVM surgeries, and it was at the Barrow Neurological Institute. So she drove from Ohio to Arizona, found one of the world's
With
premier
this in her
experts.
brain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if
Wow.
she drove it or her husband
Yeah,
or
but
somebody,
still, yeah.
but yeah. So she drove to Barrow, got seen by one of the world's experts in this, and got treated, and then she lived to talk about it years later on the community as she
Wow.
gave back.
All because she found your community.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel to know that you actually were a part of saving someone's life?
Um, Aware that there's probably many more people out there to help.
Mm. Yeah. Doesn't sound like this is going to end anytime soon. This is something that's longevity for you and generational.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in it for 17 years already. Yeah, why? Yeah, there are still patients out there in need of help, and I
Hmm.
can help them. So of course I will.
Amazing. I love that. So 17 years you've been doing this, and then 10 years ago you launched Nadine West. Tell us about this company, Nadine West, that you got to launch.
Yeah, so not something that I intended to launch, but kind of fell into my lap. So at the time, the intention was uh, I graduated business school, and then after my AVM and recovery, I wanted to help patients. So I went back to undergrad and I took my pre-med requirements so that I could go to medical school. And I went to medical school. Took my MCAT, got admitted to Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, and so the plan was to become a neurosurgeon and help patients patients go through get treated with from basically from my AVM to help those patients
Hmm.
again. And as I was in my second year, a friend of mine had an idea for a business, and the business was in women's fashion e-commerce. And I just got I just kind of got recruited into it, and it was so much fun, and I was just having so much fun, and it was a hit right away. It's like customers loved the idea, and it was a slight take on the existing subscription models. And so I was having so much fun that I asked my dean of medical school for some time off to go explore this venture, and she agreed. And so, like I said, I was I had a second year of medical school debt, and but this was so much fun. And so that philosophy of life is short.
Mm.
You got to jump on opportunities when they strike, and don't worry about failure, and don't worry about embarrassment, just go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So I packed up all my bags. I moved out of my apartment in Houston and moved to Austin, where I joined my friend. And I asked the guy, I was broke, so I slept on the warehouse floor on a mattress for about
Wow.
6 months while we got up and running. And we didn't have a background in any of this stuff, so no one would want to fund us. But we did it anyways, just kind of push forward. And 6 months later, I was able to pay myself a tiny salary. And then I moved from there to couches for the next year, friends' couches for the next year. And then from there, I moved into paid myself a little bit more, moved into an available room for rent. And then that's probably year two. And then fast forward, we got to a peak of about 500 employees. And
Wow.
yeah, just 10 years later, it just kind of flies by. But the early years were very memorable, very nostalgic.
That is a way to start for sure. And what a jump from career. So so tell us a little bit about the model. You said it was a subscription. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, yeah. So the model is Stitch Fix, basically, which is
Okay.
signing up and a personal stylist picks out your clothes and you receive them, and then you can return them if you don't like them. And if you do like them, you keep them, and then we charge you and send you another outfit or another shipment the next month. The uh, I guess the key differentiator is it's affordable. And so it's meant to be
Mm.
affordable. So Stitch Fix, which is a massive successful company, average prices are like 50 to 75 or more, $100, right? Our average price is like between 20 and $30. So meant to be
Awesome.
very, very affordable for the everyday woman.
Yeah, I love that. So for our women listeners or the men out there looking for a gift, tell us a little bit about the fashion because we want to know about the fashion.
Yeah, so the fashion is the so custom tailored to you, right? So we have all kinds of fashion. It's not We don't have just like one style or one brand like you
Hmm.
might have. I don't know, you go to a store or an outlet, that's their style. We have a variety of styles, and so it's a stylist's job to pick out the clothing for you that will fit you. So we focus on comfort and affordability.
Wow, I love that so much. So you're running these two companies. One is a nonprofit, the other is a for-profit. You're the founder of both, although it sounds like you have a co-founder for Nadine West for sure, but you're still the founder. Tell us how you can do both at the same time. Because I know a lot of people, listeners, you know, they either have that pull to also have another business or two passions. How do you do that on a tangible level?
Hmm. I think it's probably um, I think it's probably my trust in other people. It's probably the
Mm,
number one thing is, and I know entrepreneurs may struggle with this, right? Is
mm,
like I'm the one with the answers. I'm the one, who's got to get everything done. If you want something done, you got to do it yourself. Um, and I don't know how that's possible early on for sure. But at some point, there's like an inflection where you
mhm.
bring on talented people and you treat them well and you let them know that you care about them and they're not just a a means for you to make money and for you to grow a business, but that you actually care about them and want to develop them professionally. I think that's probably the key is just having great people that care about you because they know that you care about them.
Mhm. It's not much different from what you said of the nonprofit that it's the way you treat people and your customers. What does it do for you personally how does it impact your life to build such an amazing team?
Yeah, it gives me the opportunity to grow. I think that's like
Mm,
my motivator, and I think it's the motivator for a lot of like entrepreneurs is growth, like personal growth. I see that with yeah, like especially the prolific ones who are
mhm,
serial entrepreneurs, like they're for like Elon Musk, right? He doesn't need to start another company to make another, but he just loves it. And so I
mm,
think that's a very pure motivation is like giving
mhm.
you the ability to grow and by having good people. Um, you don't have to constantly micromanage. You can grow in other areas.
Mm. Opportunity to grow and grow in other areas. I think that's so important. So when you look at Nadine West, I kind of want to just dive into marketing a little bit. Even Ben's community, marketing is such a big part of business, no matter what it is. How do you market a 501(c)(3) versus an LLC? Are there differences?
Um, I mean, marketing is right. Marketing is understanding your customer, right? It's
Yeah.
a little bit easier for me, honestly, with Ben's friends because I was the customer,
Hmm.
and that that makes it a lot easier because I know what they're going through. I've been there. I know a patient can be um, there are reasons that you can be skeptical of the healthcare industry about
Yeah.
like insurance companies and pharmaceuticals and just people. There's reasons. So therefore, what matters in Ben's friends, and I understand this, is trust, right? That's the most
Hmm.
important thing. With Nadine West, I'm not our customer, so it's a little bit tougher, right? I'm not able to understand what it's like to have certain clothing that fit in certain ways and or don't fit in certain ways, or the fabric or the latest trends. So I can't not going to pretend that I understand that part, but there are some universal human aspects where they you can like I don't have to be a woman with a busy career to understand that I want somebody who cares about me
Mm.
um and is not just like trying to maximize profit with me as a customer that wants to like add value, and which is why we try our hardest to keep prices low, because we want to develop a relationship of trust so that way these women stay around a long time rather than just trying to extract as much value on the first month and
Yeah.
then they cancel like that. That's not you know that's not what I would expect to want. And of course, it's not what you want to do. So, although I can understand the fashion aspect, I can understand like, the emotional aspect.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I love that. So let's jump forward a little bit. Where do you see Ben's friends, particularly in 3 to 5 years?
Not much change. I don't really want anything to change there. I just want it to keep on. Yeah, I'm happy. The last 17 years have been like, doing. It has been serving the need that it needs to continue serving for the next 17 years. I don't think rare diseases are going to get cured, in the next 17 years.
Good point.
So as long as there's a
Yeah.
need, we'll keep going.
And do you see your role transitioning in any way as it grows or continues?
Maybe getting more involved, right? Because I would say my
Mm.
primary is Nadine West, and my passion project, nights and weekends, is Ben's Friends. So, um, I've got some other healthcare ventures in mind, but I would like to always carve out time for Ben's Friends.
Yeah. I love that. What would, if you had your dream role in Ben's friends, or what in time was no constraint, what would that look like for you?
Mm, Honestly, probably less outward facing and more communicating with the members. I think,
Mm.
that's how I started, was one-on-one communicating to members. And then as we grew a little larger, I had to be like a little bit more executive and fundraising, but I
Hmm.
would rather be on the front lines, listening to stories and empathizing, and occasionally even jumping on the phone, even though it's an online community. In early days, I used to jump on the phone and listen
Mm.
to stories and um, yeah, and help people as they were struggling with things.
I love that. I love your heart for what you're doing and your passion. It shows through so much. I love that. What about Nadine West? Where do you see that in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think there's so much upside because this target customer, it's actually probably 60% of our customers are plus size, and they're kind of overlooked in the fashion marketplace.
Mm.
And so I feel like they're overlooked, and they deserve to have like to look as as good as as any other, right there, even though their budget is
Hmm.
smaller, even though they're overlooked. Um, yeah, there are mothers, there are sisters, and so they deserve they deserve more. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm the right person for that, right? Because I'm a male co-founder who doesn't
Mm.
understand fashion. There's got to be um, like other executives out there. And so my president is like fantastic. So I see her running the company and I see her taking to the next level. And I think there's so much upside and the opportunity is massive for Nadine West to continue to grow.
So you really just talked about an exit ramp for you.
Yeah, I got us, up and running and, out of that warehouse. I was sleeping on the warehouse stage, and I think there's much more upside. And I'd like to see our president take it to realize the potential that's there.
Do you have a plan for that? Because I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs have that goal. How do you go about planning for something like that?
Uh, I don't know, just organically, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you plan on an exit, then sometimes you
Mm,
shortcut. I don't know what the right word is, but sometimes you like give customers the short end of the stick, right? It's
mm,
like because you're trying to boost your numbers, right, for the opportunity coming up, and extract as much as possible from your existing customers. I'd rather
mm.
take a long-term view and say, if we give our customers as much value as possible and do that consistently and long-term and focus on the customers and employees, that someone will be interested down the road.
Yeah. I love that. Before we get into the rapid fire questions, what is something that you want our audience to know about either Ben's friends or Nadine's company that we haven't covered?
Reach out to us, especially for Ben's friends. If you or a loved one have ever been impacted
Mm,
by a rare disease, reach out to us. We're eager to connect with potential volunteers and potential partners. Um, yeah, just anybody who wants to support that same mission.
that's awesome. All right. Rapid fire round. This is the fun round. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's get started. What is the key to success for you?
Passion, I would
Passion.
say. Yeah.
You definitely shared that throughout the whole show. You definitely have a lot of passion. Why is that so important?
Because if you're going to do hard things, the money's not going to come right away.
Mm,
There's going to be doubts. There's going to be challenges along the way. And so passion, I think passion and not necessarily love, because that can be different because the passion is what's going to keep you going.
yeah, I love that. Okay, what is your advice to other business owners?
Uh, don't worry about what other people think about you.
Mm, don't worry what other people think. I think that's so key. I'm writing that down. Okay, book or podcast? What are you reading or listening to right now?
Uh, so I'm reading um, Same as It Ever Was by Morgan Housel. And I'm reading Purposeful Decision Maker
Hmm.
by an Eastern European author whose name is, I don't remember. And then I'm reading American Sickness, a book about a broken healthcare system.
Hmm. Is reading your favorite?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that's what I would do if I couldn't grow organizations.
Yeah. I love that. Purposeful decision making maker. That sounds really good. I'm going to look that up. All right. If you had a little bit of magic dust and could put it anywhere in your business, where would you sprinkle it?
Um, I would probably want to spread the word for Ben's friends and
Mm,
like find um, influencers and celebrities who also care about rare
mm,
diseases and wanted to let the world know about our mission and our work.
yeah. Well, I hope that happens. It's important work what you're doing. And I think everybody should know about it for sure. So before we get to the last question of the day, share with everybody how they can find you or get in contact with your community and all the good things, or even shop.
Yeah. So the Nadine West website, nadinewest.com. If you're a woman who is into affordable fashion and doesn't like shopping and would rather have someone pick out your clothing for you, come to nadinewest.com. And Ben's Friends, we're having our end of year fundraiser to raise money for a lot of communities that we'd like to start next year. So that one is donate.bensfriends.org.
Donate at bensfriends.org.
Donate
Okay,
dot bensfriends.org.
got it. We're going to link that in the show notes so people can find it and help you out for sure. All right, last question of the day. What is most inspiring you today?
Yeah, this podcast. This
Oh,
podcast. Like just, sharing my story and kind of like um reminds myself of
mm,
the important things that I'm working on. So thank you for helping me on that.
yeah. You're welcome. We love sharing stories like this. And I personally love it when there's such a big mission behind it, too. So thank you for sharing. This was
Yeah.
a great conversation. I knew I was going to enjoy hearing your story and the impact you're making. So thanks for being here. And I just want to encourage everyone that's listening today to not only go follow Ben's Friends but to share about his organization too. And if you're a woman out there or want to find the perfect gift for the holidays, Nadine West is probably the best place to go. So also, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so that you can get a notification every time a new conversation drops, just like this one. Thanks to everyone who joined us today, and a special thank you to you, Ben. It was such a pleasure to hear your story. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Bye bye.